Good evening and welcome to the 14th Annual CHIP General Election Candidates Night. My name is Joel Arredondo, President of CHIP, Coalition for Hispanic Issues in Progress. You can visit our website at chiplorain.org for more information about the organization and about other upcoming events. This evening, I'm proud to introduce the presidential candidates, the President Barack Obama and his challenger, Mr. Mitt Romney. They will both be allowed 3 minutes, for their presentation. The other candidates, we have our co-chair people this evening, Mr. David Arredondo, Mary Santiago, and Mr. Antonio Barrios. Mr. Arredondo will only be representing Mr. Romney. He will not be moderating. Mr. Barrios and Ms. Santiago will be the moderators. I'd like to thank all the candidates for being here this evening. Sit back the next 2 hours. If you have to leave, we understand that. You can watch this presidential CHIP Candidates Night on Channel 20, Lorain Schools Cable, and on Channel 19, Lorain County Community College. I'd like to thank Mr. Tom Tucker, Superintendent, Lorain City Schools, and also Dr. Church for supporting this event over all these past years. Tonight, Mr. David Arredondo, who will be speaking for Mr. Romney. Are you going first? Okay. Once again, Mr. Jose Torres will be representing President Barack Obama. So at this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Torres to come up. They'll be at the podium here, and we have our timekeeper here, Miss Juanita Senkis and her husband Pablo, so the candidates please adhere to the time. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. Good evening. First of all, I want to thank the Coalition for Hispanic, Latino Issues and Progress for this opportunity, the honor of being here representing the President, Barack Obama, in this debate, presentation along with my friend, David Arredondo. But let's be clear, David and I represent candidates, and we support candidates that have different visions for the future of our country. I am anticipating that David will argue that the best way for working with our economy, developing our economy, is what Governor Romney presented, which is similar for the most part to what we had for 8 years under President Bush, which is basically the trickle-down economics, deregulation, and giving tax cuts to those on the upper wealthy section. We know it didn't work. For 8 years, it did not work. We have two candidates, as I said, with different visions, and the first one is President Barack Obama. We have a president that, and we need to keep this in mind, that when he was being sworn in 2008, at that same moment, 750,000 Americans were losing their job per month. Our economy was in a free fall. People remembered the days of the 1920s with the Great Depression. The housing market collapsed. The president started working with those issues. He stabilized the economy, the housing market, strengthened the auto industry, which is extremely important here in Northeast Ohio and for many Hispanics as well, because of the jobs here. He made it accessible for our kids to go and get an education. Pell Grants were expanded. Loans for school loans were also expanded, taking the middleman out of there. We had issues like health care, where under the Bush administration, the rate of inflation was 3 times excuse me, the cost of healthcare was 3 times the rate of inflation, and under President Obama has been only 4%. We have issues like the issue of immigration that candidate Romney completely is opposed to the DREAM Act, and he supports issues like the immigration law in Arizona, that Senate Bill 1070, supported by his advisor, Kovash. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Next, we'll have Mr. David Arredondo, who is the Vice Chairman of the Lorain County Republican Party, Co-Chairman of Lorain County Mitt Romney for President campaign, and my brother. David?
Good evening, fellow citizens. Tonight I come before you to ask you to elect Republican Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan as our next president and vice president. Just a few weeks ago, Vice President Joe Biden stated, quote, "The middle class has been buried the past 4 years," unquote. And just who has buried the middle class these last 4 years? Why, Obama and Biden and the Democratic Party, that's who. The middle class has been buried with higher taxes, lower wages, job losses, higher prices like food and gasoline. And once Obamacare kicks in, all will pay more for health care. The middle class has been buried with 4.5 million jobs lost and counting since 2009. Higher gas prices in 2009, $1.85 a gallon, $3.85 today. And $4 trillion added to the national debt, which all Americans will pay for generations to come. Middle-class small business, despite being the major generator of jobs in the economy, has been buried by higher taxes, regulations, and the burden of Obamacare. And to lend insult to injury, President Obama callously stated, quote, "You didn't build that," unquote. He went on to say that, quote, "Somebody else helped you," unquote. He means that the government, someone in the public sector, is largely responsible for our success. The Obama plan for the next 4 years is actually a repeat of the past 4 years. President Obama has failed to offer any plan for the next 4 years. We cannot afford another 4 years of failed policies. America needs a turnaround, and Mitt Romney is the turnaround guy. Throughout his life, Governor Romney has done much good, whether as a missionary for his faith, businessman, governor of Massachusetts, husband and father. Mitt Romney founded Bain Capital, which turned around hundreds of businesses. He turned around the failing 2002 Winter Olympics and helped make $1 million profit. And he turned around the state of Massachusetts. As governor, he worked in a bipartisan way with the Democratic legislature to balance the budget and create jobs. He will do the same as president. His recovery plan is 5 points. He will eliminate Obamacare, reform Social Security and Medicare, restructure our tax system, push American exports through fair trade, and ensure our national security and military strength. Ladies and gentlemen, our current course of government, federal, state, and local, is unsustainable. We have a choice between going backwards with higher taxes and more governmental burden, or turning around America with smaller, more efficient government and less taxes. Mitt Romney is the turnaround guy and the turnaround president. Tomorrow, through November 6th, vote Mitt Romney, Republican, as our next president.
Thank you, David. So that kicks off our candidates' night this evening. At this point in time, I'd like to introduce our next moderators. We have Mary Santiago. She is the president of the state Ohio Commission Latino Affairs, native of Lorain. She's also very active in the Democratic Party and is also very active in her church, Sacred Heart Church. And Mr. Antonio Barrios, he will be the other moderator this evening. Mr. Barrios is an independent businessman, entrepreneur. He is the originator and the founder of the Lorain Arts Council, which is located on Broadway. He had this dream, and right now it's coming to fruition. So at this point in time, Antonio will be leading off this first segment. So once again, thank you. Enjoy the evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Buenas tardes. All right, thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for following Chip and our candidates tonight. We will begin promptly by asking the U.S. Congress representatives to stand ready. And to start, we will start with the 4th District, Jim Jordan and Jim Sloan. Could you come up here, please? Before we start, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind everybody that Chip maintains a biased and unpartisan attitude in this event. We have invited everybody that's on this list, so if you don't see them here, it's of their own choosing. We try to keep everything neutral for us and just have the public enjoy exactly what the people have to say. So with that being said, I will start with the first questions for Mr. Jim Sloan. Okay. If and when the DREAM Act is reintroduced, what would you add or take out of the bill to help it pass Congress?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you so very much for allowing me to be here tonight. I would like to say thanks to the Coalition for Hispanic Latino Issues and for progress. And I love that last part, for progress, because that's what we're all interested in, is progress. And to make our country, to make our state, to make our towns a lot better. And to the question, if and when the DREAM Act is reintroduced, what would you do to add or to take away from it? Personally, I would love to see the DREAM Act reintroduced. In fact, I really wish we didn't have to have such a thing as called the DREAM Act, because I believe that myself being probably 15% American Indian, because my great-great-grandmother was a full-blooded Indian, I believe that when they were standing on the shores and the boats come rolling in, that they were welcomed. And I would think that in this country, as great as America is, I would love to see everyone welcomed with open arms to America. And I wish the DREAM Act didn't have to happen, but I hope it's introduced. And when I get to Congress, we will get something introduced that will allow people to become citizens of the United States. And I believe that is so important, because you know what? America is made up of such a great melting pot of individuals. And you know, if we keep people out, we're keeping out some people that could be that diamond in the rough, that person that could be the next genius, the next scientist, the next person that could really develop something that would help us as American citizens, whether it be in medicine and science or whatever.
Thank you. Do we have the timers working? Thank you. Watching the Congress and the presidency unable to work together to pass needed legislation because of partisan politics, what can you do to change or alleviate this situation? And please try to keep your answer to 1 minute. Thank you.
Well, I will try very hard. I will try very hard. That's very hard for me to do. With Congress and the presidency not being able to work together, what legislation you know, would we introduce to change or alleviate the situation? To start with, we have to have a Congress that is willing to be, that's actually able to work together. They have to be able to compromise. Right now we have a Congress that will not compromise with each other. And there's a real important reason that Congress is not cooperating with each other, and it's simply this, is that most of Congress, the Republican Congress, is bought by Grover Norquist and by Karl Rove. And when you have a Congress that has been purchased by a group of men, they will never work together because their hands have been tied. They are not free to do what they want to do.
Thank you. And seeing that we have the extra time here, we'll go with a third question. Okay. You're up for that?
I'm up for it.
Puerto Rico's political status is again up for grabs. What are your thoughts on the criteria for Puerto Rico to become a state of the Union?
You know, this has been debated for a long, long time. And we've talked about it for a long, long time. Personally, I would welcome Puerto Rico with open arms if they wanted to become a state, if they wanted to become part of the United States. But that's their choosing. That's their choosing. That's what America's all about. It's about that free choice, that free will to be able to vote, to be able to say, hey, I want to become part of America or I want to stay independent, even though they do reap a lot of benefits from us here in the United States, but I would welcome them with open arms if they so choose to do that.
Okay, well then that concludes the time for Jim Sloan, and we will proceed to the next 7th District.
Thank you, Ken.
No problem, no problem. Yeah, he did for 2 minutes. Just to remind you of the format, my bad. One moment. Mr. Sloan, will you return here? The format will be that the candidates will each have 2 minutes for opening statement, and next they will be asked 2 to 3 questions by the moderator, and then give a 1-minute answer, and then they will have a a 1-minute closing. Thank you. Your closing, sir.
So I have 1 minute or 2 minutes. Okay, someplace in between. Okay, very good. As 1 minute. Okay, my name is Jim Sloan. I am running for Congress in the 4th Congressional District, which stretches all the way from Sheffield Village all the way down to Mercer County, which is 13 miles from the Indiana border. This has been a dream of mine ever since I've been a young man. I started out in my political career by passing out literature for JFK. From there, that's when I came here from Kentucky. One of the things is it's a dream of mine, simply because I'm the grandson of a coal miner. I'm the grandson of a farmer, and I'm one of those people that's an auto worker. I'm retired from the auto industry, and I know what it's like to work hard for a living. And I'm going to tell you, it's one of the most humbling experiences you've ever seen in your life, is to walk up to that ballot box, knowing where you've come from a very poor background where you owed everything to the company store, to see your name on a ballot. And when I looked at that ballot, and I have to be honest with you, I took my glasses off, I wiped my eyes, and I stepped back, and my wife said, Jim, what's wrong? And I said, to see your name on the ballot is very humbling, but all I could see was all the veterans who had died to make that possible for me. So thank you, veterans.
Thank you, Jim. Can we now have, from the 7th District, Mr. Bob Gibbs and Joyce Healy Abrams.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Chief, I'm so proud to be here and tell you a little bit about my candidacy for Congress. My name is Joyce Healy Abrams, and I'm running in the 7th Congressional District, which is half of Lorain County, as far northeast as Avon, and all the way down to the southwest corner of Lorain County. It's one of the new districts this year. I'm not a politician. I'm a business person, and I have been watching increasingly over the past couple years what is happening. And because of that, I got gravely concerned. And I thought, you know what? I built my own business, I balanced budgets, I created jobs, and I met payroll every 2 weeks. I managed cash flow. And I thought, you know what? Maybe this would be helpful to Congress. And I absolutely believe that Congress is broken. I have watched for the past couple years how how partisan politics has taken over the initiatives that are important to our country. And so what I have done as a business person is I've written a jobs plan that will put Ohioans back to work. You can read it and look at it on my website. It's joyceforjobs.com, and it's very detailed. There's a 5-point plan there that talks about how we can create an environment in our country to get people back to work, because that's ultimately what people want. I would greatly appreciate your support for my candidacy, and would love to talk to each and every one of you after the evening tonight. Thank you.
So we'll begin with the questions. What are your thoughts or ideas on a mass transit system that would connect the Northwest Corridor, Toledo, Sandusky, Lorain, and Cleveland?
Well, I absolutely believe that we should invest in our infrastructure in the great state of Ohio. It would do a couple things. It would make our state more efficient. It would absolutely help provide jobs in our community, and provide a lot of efficiencies. And so I would absolutely agree to that. You know, what I spoke about before was about creating jobs, and this would be a really good opportunity for Ohioans to be able to get back to work. And when you look at my jobs plan, for example, creating jobs is the foremost. The most important thing that I think that would be helpful to create jobs in Ohio would be to allow credit to be made available to small businesses. You know, from 2008 to 2010, $59 billion was not made readily available to small businesses because of the shortage of the financial crisis. And you know what? Small businesses are the bread and butter of our country, and they employ over 60% of the people in our country. So these are one of the examples that we can help to create jobs in our great state.
Thank you. Next question. In March 2010, the U.S. Congress passed the Affordable Care Act. There have been many who don't want it. Is the Affordable Care Act viable, or how or would you change it?
Thank you. That's an important question because, you know, everybody, I believe it's a moral right that everyone in the United States should have access to affordable health care. And the Affordable Health Care Act, also known as Obamacare, has been approved by the Supreme Court, the law of the land. It is not a perfect piece of legislation, but I'm sure the Social Security legislation was not perfect when it started. Anytime you have social reform, it's always going to be hugely debated, but much needed. You know, there are absolutely things in the Affordable Care Act that are very important. Pre-existing conditions. We want to make sure that we keep pre-existing conditions as something that can be covered when we acquire new insurance. Or keeping your young adults on your health care plan until they're 26. Or how about not canceling the health insurance when you become ill so that the insurance companies can pocket the premiums and not pay for the benefits? These are crucial. These are absolutely crucial. But there are some things that we need to fix. As a small business owner, it didn't do enough for small businesses because it doesn't do anything for businesses who have under 50 lives. So there's things like that, as well as being able to negotiate prescription drug costs that are the same price that we pay for them as we do through the Veterans Association administration. We should be able to reduce costs with Medicare prescription drugs so that we can help reduce the Medicare costs, because ultimately we have to reduce the cost of health care.
Thank you. And we're just going to ask you one more question. If and when the DREAM Act is reintroduced, what would you add or take out of the bill to help it pass the Congress?
Well, I think that the DREAM Act is very important. You know, our country was built on immigration. Of course, all of our families came from somewhere, and it's very important that we permit people who were born in this country to be American citizens. They are part of our society. They contribute to our great society, and it's absolutely necessary that we do that. You know, I think that I have more of an affinity to helping immigrants. I did a lot of work and travel in Central America. Actually, I adopted my daughter from Panama, and welcome other cultures to come to our great land. You know, but I absolutely think that we need to make sure that the DREAM Act is reintroduced, and I would absolutely be a proponent for it. I don't know if I would change some of the pieces of it as far as requiring those children to absolutely go to college or not, or absolutely serve in the military, because I think they were born in this country and they absolutely have a right to be American citizens, but I would have to look at that in more detail.
Okay, well, thank you. You have 1 minute for closing.
Well, again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me to introduce myself as a Democratic candidate for the 7th Congressional District here in Lorain County. You know, there's a clear choice in this election, myself and my opponents. We are on very different sides of the issues. You know, I absolutely think that Congress is broken, that it's dysfunctional, and it's putting party issues above the issues of our great country. And I absolutely believe that there's fair ways and the right ways to balance budgets, not on the backs of senior citizens by trying to privatize Medicare and give tax loopholes to wealthy corporations. We're very, very different on these issues. I absolutely believe the way to grow our economy is to provide jobs, because I've always believed we build from the bottom up. You know, I was the first one in my family to ever go to college and graduate from college. I grew up in a middle-class family, and that's important because I worked my way through college. I also was the first one to build my own business, and that's important because I built it by myself with my husband, one job at a time. So I absolutely believe in investing in people and building our way out of this recession and improving our economy. Because if we create jobs, people will have their paychecks, their income, and they will spend that. And the demand for consumer goods will go up. And if the demand for consumer goods goes up, then we have to create more consumer goods. Our manufacturers will create more consumer goods. And if they have to do that, then they will create more jobs. And this is how we create revenue for our government to help get us out of this cycle. And this is how we grow our economy and Americans can prosper. That's why the United States is so great, because we absolutely can build from the bottom up, and everybody will have that opportunity. So I appreciate your time again. Thank you so much, and I would greatly appreciate your vote on November 6th for Joyce Healy Abrams. Thank you.
Next, we will have the 9th District, Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur and Mr. Samuel Wurzelbacher. We will start with opening statements. Congresswoman Kaptur.
Yes. Good evening. I would like to thank the Coalition for Hispanic and Latino Issues for inviting us here this evening to make progress together as Americans. I thank my opponent for coming tonight and all of you. This is what citizenship is all about. My role as a congressional candidate is to work hard to keep our recovery accelerating and to make sure that jobs for all Americans are yielded from the cooperation of our government and the private sector in order to help propel the future forward in a positive way. I support President Obama. I was a part of a coalition in the Congress that voted for the refinancing of the automotive industry, which has had tremendous impact. One of 8 jobs in Ohio relates to the automotive industry, the steel industry as a follow-on, and all the parts companies that are so important to us across Ohio, as well as the nation. I also very much support education, have been able to bring millions and millions of dollars to Lorain County Community College and other colleges across our country for retraining of workers, as well as for education of the next generation. I support Head Start programs for our young children so that they can come to school ready to learn. In addition to that, I fight very hard for Lake Erie, for all of the assets along our shore. We live in the most sustainable place on earth, and some of the new industries and new opportunities that we will create relate to the use of that fresh water resource and the many strengths that we have along our coast, including in manufacturing, in agriculture, in the arts, in strategic metals, and so many of the other strengths that we have in the area, including sensors, one of the developing industries. I support high-speed rail and transit improvement here across the north, brought almost $1 million to the state of Ohio, which the governor returned. I'm not interested in helping us here in the north. I do not support privatization of the Turnpike. I think it should remain in the hands of the Turnpike Commission and the people of this region. It's been paid for, and we don't need to cash it out to other parts of the state or other parts of the world. I don't support the kind of Bain company capitalism that is vulture capitalism. I support creating wealth here and a stronger middle class. Thank you. I would appreciate your support very much and look forward to the question period.
Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys. I appreciate the opportunity here, sir. Thank you. And thank you very much, Marcy Kempter. Really appreciate it. My name is Samuel Joseph Wurzelbacher. I've gone by Joe Wurzelbacher all my life. I was trained as a plumber in the United States Air Force on my DD Form 214 when I was honorably discharged, skill level 5 as a journeyman plumber. Unfortunately, a lot of times what happens to military people when they get out of the Air Force or Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, the skills they learned in the military don't qualify in the civilian world, and that hurts a lot of veterans. Last year's unemployment rate for veterans ages 24 to 26 was 18%. High unemployment rate for our veterans, and the men and women that serve our country sometimes give a little and sometimes give everything. I think we need to be able to work together, Republicans and Democrats, to promote our veterans' issues and make sure that they get the benefits they were promised, and make sure that their benefits don't get cut as time goes on, because we spend too much money as a federal government. Have a 17-year-old son, and we're expecting a new one here in February. Pretty excited about that. You know, I'm very much a family man. I've worked hard the last 4 years, once I met Barack Obama, to really speak out about the federal government getting in each and everyone's business. I want them to be able to go out there and succeed on their own. Sometimes we fail, but failing creates character, and that's important. That's been taught to me from day one to a little boy. Character is something that unfortunately we seem to be lacking, especially in Congress and in the government in general. Too many people are arguing and screaming at each other, and they're not really representing the American people. And that's what I find at fault right now, is too many people are representing and working towards the Republican Party or working towards the Democrat Party, and they're not working for the American people. And that's why I've got in here, because I really want to work for the American people, not the PACs, not the unions, not anybody specific, everybody. And that's what we got to get back to. So thank you very much. Please go to my website, joeforcongress2012.com, and look forward to this event this evening.
Excuse me. Okay. Got a dry moment there. One moment. Go ahead. Excuse me. Excuse me. We'll start with the first question with Mr. Wurzelbacher. Is that correct? Yes, sir. I was afraid of messing that up. Puerto Rico's political status is again up for grabs. What are your thoughts on the criteria for Puerto Rico to become a state of the union?
To become a State of the Union, to know what the American dream is and be able to sit there and hopefully make it happen is tremendous. So, you know, I welcome the opportunity for Puerto Rico to come into America, but also devil's in the details. You know, I want to make sure that they understand, well, one, I want the American people to know for a fact that, you know, it's a general consensus that all the Puerto Rican residents really want to become American citizens. And then I want them to understand that, you know, coming into the American citizens, they got to follow, you know, our Constitution, the rules and laws that we live by, and have the patriotism and love of country that each and every one of us feels. So as long as it's not just a political grab for one party or another party, I see nothing wrong with it, and enjoy if it comes to be about.
Congresswoman, the same question?
Yes. Puerto Ricans are already Americans, and I would leave the I have learned from my colleagues in the Congress, Nydia Velázquez, Luis Gutierrez, and others, that the preference would be for the people of Puerto Rico to decide their own status. So I am neutral on that. I believe in their self-determination. I didn't have a chance to say in my opening statement, I hope this is allowed to say, I also am a candidate who completely supports Social Security and Medicare. I do not wish to privatize them, nor, like the Romney-Ryan ticket, raise the Medicare eligibility age to 67. I support the current system. Families are made strong when they are able to buy affordable insurance and when their earned benefits are not taken away from them. And Social Security and Medicare are lifeline programs for the American people. I would never cash them out. I would never voucher them out.
Thank you. The next question, starting with you, Congresswoman. Watching the Congress and presidency unable to work together to pass needed legislation because of partisan politics, what can you do to change or alleviate this situation?
That's a really hard question. And what I do personally is I try to find Republicans that I can work with on issues before the country. And when we're successful, whether it's building the World War II Memorial, which was our bill, whether it was creating veterans employment programs. This president has doubled assistance to veterans across our country, more than any president in U.S. history. I support him in those efforts. Whether it is working on our senior farmers market coupon program, whether it is working on new energy alternatives for America, you have to find allies, and they are there. Unfortunately, because campaigns never seem to end now, members are pitted against one another in a way that wasn't true when I was first elected, and it creates very bad feelings. And so I try to personally find those members that are willing to work with you. And as one of my friends on the Republican side said to me, you know, Marcy, I didn't get elected to become a chairman of anything. He said, if they're not going to make me a chairman because I work with a Democrat, so be it.
Roll back at the same question.
For the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to meet different congressmen and women, senators, president. I believe in working from right and wrong, not right and left. You know, as I said in my opening statement, it seemed like the parties serve themselves more than they actually serve the American people, and we got to get away from that kind of thinking. Jimmy LaSavia, who's president of Go Proud, a homosexual group, has endorsed me. He said, Joe, obviously we're going to disagree on some of the social issues, but we still want jobs. You know, we still believe firmly in the Second Amendment. You know, we need less taxes to grow the economy. We need less regulations that essentially help destroy the automobile industry. You know, there's things that we can do to work together. I'm not afraid to speak in my mind, and I'm not here to sit here and blow smoke up anyone's skirt and tell you something that you want to hear in order to get elected. You're getting my thoughts and my views, and most people end up usually respecting that instead of finding out later that they lied to you when they've run for office. And so the fact that I will be blunt and work hard and not tolerate anything, I think would do well for us.
Thank you. We have one more question then. If and when the DREAM Act is reintroduced, would you add or take, what would you add or take away to the bill to help it pass Congress?
Well, I agree with President Obama that we have a broken immigration system. And I am a sponsor of the current DREAM Act introduced by Howard Berman of Southern California. And I believe in a earned path to citizenship. Whether it's educational achievement, whether it's military service, whether it's starting a small business or owning farmland and developing that as a business. So I think an earned path is the proper step to take, and not to offend anyone who's already in line around the world to with their application for citizenship, so that it's a fair system. But I really believe that to solve the immigration problem is going to require the renegotiation of NAFTA, so that the workers of this continent are treated like human beings, and they are not exploited, they are not made chattel, and that they have a right to labor rights, whichever country they live in. And sadly, we have 6.6 million undocumented workers in our country today, most of whom are exploited and do not have a labor contract and work under very unfavorable conditions. We need to bring those workers into the full light of legal protections, and we need to renegotiate NAFTA in order to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Wurzelbacher.
Illegal immigration costed American taxpayers $118 billion last year. That's $118 billion that was spent on health care and education for illegal immigrants. So for the DREAM Act to come along, you know, anything that would incentivize bringing children over through the desert, possibly being killed by many drug cartels along our borders, I think is a bad idea. It just you're hurting the family in that aspect. Now, as far as pathways to citizenship, obviously serving in the military to become an American citizen, learning the love of country, that this great country has a lot to offer many people, is a great way of doing it. But anything that incentivizes illegal transfer over borders is just a bad idea. The American taxpayers suffer for it, and our whole point here is to make sure that you guys have the opportunity to succeed in this country, and that's really what I'm working towards.
Okay, thank you. We will have now the 1-minute closings.
What it comes down to is, the last 30 or 40 years, party politics have been played at the expense of the American people, and we got to stop that. America is in a terrible state right now, and unfortunately, the people that brought us here are still in office. And we just got to kind of clean the slate and get people in there that understands what it's like to work in the private sector, that understands every day that you have to do a good job, not just a job, but you have to do a good job to maintain your employment and actually pay the bills. I've had to do that the last 30 years of my life, from plumbing to being in the military, to making sure my family is fed. That's the kind of thing that I'm going to take to Congress is, you expect good results when you hire somebody to do a job. And that's what you're doing ultimately. You're hiring me to go up there and represent your interests. And it's safe to say that I'm not going to be there representing just the Republican Party or just the Democrat Party. It's everybody. I mean, that's what the whole point behind this is. So that's where it is. So please go to joeforcongress2012.com. I have over 20 videos. Everything's there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Congresswoman Carr.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who's listening tonight. I would be very grateful for your consideration and your support and your vote in the coming election. I urge everyone to vote early if you can at our boards of elections in the various counties so that our votes can be cast fully this year. I want to be part of a majority in the Congress that helps this president keep accelerating the recovery so all Americans who want to work can work. I want to be part of a Democratic majority that will protect Social Security and Medicare. I want to be part of a Democratic majority that leads America into a new energy age, and part of a Democratic majority that will pass a farm bill, especially in a year of drought, that will pass a transportation bill that will lead this country into the future, that will help make America energy independent, that will hold Wall Street accountable, and will stop the outsourcing of jobs through firms like Bain Capital that really use vulture capitalism to exploit our people, take their benefits, and then cast them aside, making the few rich at the expense of the many. I want to be a part of a Democratic majority. I need your help in order to do that. Thank you so very much for coming here tonight, and I'll appreciate your vote on November 6th.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Next up, I will introduce my colleague, Mary Santiago. And could we have the representatives from the House of Representatives please come forward?
Hello, my name is Mary Santiago, and I'm the moderator for this section of the program. We're going to start, gentlemen, with a 2-minute opening, and then after your 2-minute opening, we'll have some questions, 2 to 3 questions, 1-minute answers, and 1 minute for your closings. So with that, if you would like to start.
Thank you very much, and I'm going to use the podium. I wrote down some notes so I can narrow my 30 minutes down to 2 minutes. Hello, I'm Terry Boos, current state representative for the 58th District and candidate for the new 57th District, and I'd appreciate your vote in this election. I love Ohio, and I'm dedicated to help our great state rebound from the crisis created by government overspending and mismanagement. 4 years ago, in my first term, my votes for fiscal responsibility were overridden and ignored by political reasons, and we found ourselves in a deep hole for one-time spending. In the past 2 years, we've made good progress in cutting an $8 billion deficit and reducing state taxes at the same time. Lower government spending and lower taxes. That's a trend I'd like to continue. Another trend I'd like to continue would be creating new jobs. In the last year, Ohio has created more than 100,000 new jobs. That is more than any other state in the Midwest and 4th in the country. I am for creating all types of jobs because the skills, interests, and education levels vary widely in my district. I have business, governmental, and educational experience to tackle the many issues that legislators must face. I've learned from experience that the many issues we face are often connected. Big cities versus small cities in rural areas. We might have education versus healthcare. Representatives have many things to consider, and when we make decisions, we can't just focus on one issue because our decisions affect all our citizens. We must juggle the many issues with fairness and impartiality. I have shown I can do that without caving in to special interest groups. I'm a conservative, but don't vote straight party line. Check my record. I vote for the best for my district. I know everyone will not agree with every position I take, but I ask voters to look at the big picture. Thank you. I ask you once again to vote for Terry Boos in this current election.
Thank you, and you can go.
Hi, my name is Matt Lark. Can you guys hear me all right with this? Okay. I am new to politics. I'm a teacher at Norwalk High School. I've been teaching science for 21 years. And I'll tell you what, I think we need an educator in the State House right now. Basically, I'm running for the state legislature because I think the middle and working class people of Huron and Lorain counties need better representation. My opponent brought up some job figures, so I'll cut right into that topic. At all the previous mini debates and little gatherings, he talks about job creation, all these jobs we're getting. I'll tell you what he fails to represent, to let you know, is how many full-time jobs that pay a decent wage and pay benefits have left and been replaced with part-time minimum wage jobs. That has to end. We need to make things in this district. And I do have a detailed plan that I'm willing to share with all of you later on. Obviously, with 1 minute left, I can't do that. But let's just say this. It focuses around the food processing industry. Because what do we do best here in both Lorain and Huron counties? The answer is agriculture, statistically. And we have a great rail system throughout our district. We have great highway system. We're surrounded by corn, beans, and wheat. Folks, we need to can, box, make frozen foods, you name it. That's how you create jobs. Real jobs, career-oriented jobs, ones that you can feed your families on and not need public assistance. That's how you get people off welfare. I think the #1 job of a state representative is to provide a vision. That's something I have not heard my opponent do. I'm telling you, I have a vision for this district, and it focuses around the food processing industry and creating real jobs that pay good wages and benefits. Thank you. My name's Matt Lark, and I want to be your next state rep.
Thank you. And the first question is, if passed by the voters on November 6th, Issue 2 will fundamentally change the way congressional and Ohio legislative districts are drawn. Do you support or oppose Issue 2? And please explain your reasons. Mr. Lark.
I'm definitely in favor of Issue 2, and I'm putting it on all my literature from this point on. Let me tell you why. I think in this day and age, there's a lot of people who are, let's face it, disgruntled with politics. I got news for you. I was one of those persons, okay? And that's why I'm running for office. We need to do everything we can to encourage people to vote, not discourage them from voting. You know, not everyone works 9 to 5, okay? There's people who work midnight shift, et cetera, et cetera. We need to provide as many opportunities as possible. We cannot restrict access based on whether you have a certain card, We need to provide as many opportunities as humanly possible for our citizens to vote in Ohio.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Booth.
Thank you, and I'm not sure my opponent answered the question. We were talking about Issue 2, And issue 2 talks about congressional district and redistricting. And so let me answer that question since he didn't. I am against issue 2, and that's because issue 2, what it does is it takes unelected officials to make the decisions, and they're not accountable to anybody. And they're also very difficult, once they get on this committee, to be taken off. They're appointed by judges, and the judge conferences are all against them. The judges do not like this. That brings politics into the judicial process, and so it's not a correct process. The right process is what we tried to do 4 years ago, but because it was brought up by the minority party, the majority party didn't pick it up. We had the answer. We had ways of going in and changing redistricting, but the Democrats thought they were going to keep and remain in control, so they didn't want to make any changes, so they didn't take it up. It's something that we can take up and should take up as state representatives.
Thank you. The next question. The Ohio educational system is in dire need of sound financial structure and funding sources. What would you implement to save our schools?
Well, this is a all-day debate to talk about school funding. And I can tell you what we can't do. We can't just throw money at schools. That's not the right answer. My opponent said over and over again that we need to put more money into schools. What we need to do is look at how that money is being spent, and is it being spent correctly. We are ranked one of the highest states in the country. I think we're 3rd in administrative costs as opposed to putting the money towards the students. We need to look at the way we're funding them and how we're funding them and give everyone an equal chance in Ohio to choose their school as to where they want to be. So, do we need changes? Yes. Is it, everybody says, well, you know what, property taxes are unconstitutional. Well, guess what? Most of the state money used is not property tax. That's coming from the local governments who are putting the levies on. And I talked to a superintendent just last week and said, why property tax rather than income tax? And they said, well, it's better for us because we can get a guaranteed amount. So if we have to change the local governments or the way they're taking their money, I think you'd hear a far big outcry than what we've had right now.
Thank you, and same question, Mr. Lark.
Thank you. I'm going to use just a couple seconds to address the previous question. I guess I was just so anxious to answer that previous one. I apologize. As far as issue 2 in redistricting goes, I think it's ridiculous that this county is split up into 3 congressional districts. That's a joke. The people should pick their officials, not the other way around. Plus, is it really beneficial to our district to have Willard and Avon in the same district? I think not. So that's enough with that issue. As far as education, no one has more experience at this table than I do with education. I'm going to talk about one thing because I only have a few more seconds, and that's state testing, which you talk to any teacher, they're going to tell you it's a joke and it's what's ruining our state. Talk to any 4th grader. They seem like they're crazy smart compared to our generation. The reason is they're throwing tons and tons of information at them at an early age. And so you talk to these kids, man, they know about mitochondria in 2nd and 3rd grade. That's incredible. I didn't have that till high school. There's one problem. They don't learn the basics because they don't get the repetition. They don't know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide by the time they get to 9th grade. And it's because of state testing, and there are problems with this No Child Left Behind. And unfortunately, I'm out of time. I could talk about this for days, folks.
Thank you. Your 3rd and final question is, over the past 2 years, the Ohio legislature has introduced and passed legislation regarding Ohio election practices. Some of these measures have been challenged in the state and federal court. What changes do you wish to see enacted or deleted?
Thank you very much, and I'm all for election reform. For those of you that haven't looked at the Columbus Dispatch today, there were 3 people indicted today in Columbus for voting twice in the last election. We cannot allow that to happen. We need voter registration, voter ID, paid for. If you don't have an ID, the state can pay for it. That's not a problem. We offered to do that in the bill that we introduced. But you know what? You have to show an ID to buy alcohol. You have to show an ID to go on an airplane. You have to show an ID to buy ammunition. So what is so wrong with proving that you're a citizen of the district, of the precinct that you're supposed to be from? As far as going the other way, other things that we talked about is, you know, how much do we allow for early voting? Yeah, you know what? It's great to allow people to have some opportunities. But you know what else it is? It's very difficult to educate the voters when the election process lasts over 3 weeks. So, you know, we can't even put signs out that far ahead of time. Thank you.
Thank you, and same question.
I answered this before. I'll say it again. We need to provide as many opportunities to vote. There is no harm in that. And I don't believe in underestimating the intelligence of the average voter. In this day of the internet and all our junk mail we send out and whatnot, I trust that the citizens can make the appropriate decision. Now, if you want to talk about real change, how you can help this system, put a cap on how much politicians can spend on ads. That will even the playing field. And I mean, whether it's at the state level or federal level, I would vote for that in a heartbeat, okay? One more thing about education, because as you can see, I've never been, you know, real politically correct here, but let me go back to education. Private, for-profit, online charter schools are a reason for a 16-year-old to drop out of high school instead of waiting a few years. These academies, we cannot continue to send our tax dollars from our public schools to these private agencies. They're killing our public schools. And I'm out of time again.
Thank you. This concludes the questions. Now they have their 1 minute closing. Mr. Pardon me?
You should be going first.
Oh, I'll go first.
Thank you. You can use the podium if you'd like.
Oh, you know what? I'm used to pacing as a teacher, so, you know, you'll notice that about me. I'm really not nervous, but I do like to pace a bit. And basically, I want to be a representative because I think I can help rebuild the middle class. It's not going to happen overnight, folks, but you have to have a vision. Did you hear my opponent give any details? No. He talks about job creation. I got a question for you. Maybe you can answer it in the last 30 seconds. Where were those jobs created? Were they in our district? And what kind of jobs were they? Were they plumbing jobs? Were they Taco Bell? What were they? Let's get full-time jobs that pay benefits. I am for, you know, you got to be careful with tax abatements because that does pull money right from your public schools, and not everyone knows that. So you do have to be careful with that. I am for well-placed tax abatements if it's a long-term commitment, the jobs are full-time, they pay a fair wage and benefits. Then I'll give you a tax break because you know what? You're going to make your money up later with the tax revenue. And folks, I'll be around to talk to you, but the lady cut me off again. So anyways, here you go, Terry.
Thank you. My opponent with a vision can't even answer the questions that were being asked. If you notice, he didn't even answer the questions. Most of the time he flopped around. I didn't even see a vision in answering a question, much less a broader vision. I am Terry Booth, state representative. I am the clear head of my opponent when it comes to experience and background. I have a background in business. I got endorsed by the National Federation of Independent Business. Why is that important? What is our district made up of? Agriculture, small businesses. That's what we're made up of. NFIB made me Legislator of the Year. I'm also got Front of the Agriculture Award. Why is that important? #1 industry, Lorain County, Huron County. Those are the kind of endorsements that I got, which shows that what I'm doing is doing it for my district, for my people. I've been there. I've been a county commissioner. I know local government. I've been a businessman. I know business. I was a farmer. I know agriculture. What does this, what do we need? Somebody who knows all the areas of the district, and that's me. Vote for Terry Boos in this election. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes, and if we could please have 55th District, Matt Lundy and Raylyn Bradley, please. We will start with a 2-minute opening, and then 1 minute for the answers to the questions, and then 1 minute closing. Mr. Lundy, if you'd go first.
Yeah, thank you. We're going to stay at the table here so everybody can hear us properly and the lighting's good. First off, I want to thank Chip for hosting this event, and thank you for all that you do for the Hispanic Latino community. I also want you to know that Matt Lundy embraces and values diversity. It's very important for our communities. I've worked to be responsive and accountable to the taxpayers through my ongoing Lundy Listens town hall meetings. And I believe that listening to you is the way the government's supposed to work. You know, after all, we do work for you. I believe in working together. And, you know, in these times, I think it's become very apparent that, you know, there's a time where there's no more need for politics, no more politics. We've got to work together to come up with real solutions for the real problems that we face. And that actually starts with using a common sense approach. And I was very happy to reach across the aisle, work together. We worked on a common sense initiative for the state of Ohio. And what that called for was taking a look at rules and regulations that were being applied to businesses. And we said, when are those rules and regulations overreaching? When are they actually impeding business, which means that it's hurting with job growth? And that's something that we worked together on. But I have stood up when people failed to come to the table to promote what I would call sensible solutions. You know, we've had an extreme group try to defund Ohio Commission on Hispanic and Latino Affairs. Also stood up to the payday lenders, stood up to the big banks when they wanted to provide credit cards to college students who didn't even have a job, and to this administration when they've tried to privatize our turnpike, something I've enjoyed working closely with Commissioner Ted Kalo on. I'll continue to stand up for our middle-class families, and I pledge to you that I'll continue to listen because that's the way government is supposed to work. You can check out more about me on my website, mattlundy.com. You can email me questions, matt@mattlundy.com.
Thank you. My name is Raylyn Brady. I am running for state representative. I am a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a business owner. I have not been a politician before, and I don't intend to be a lifetime politician either. I do own Twist and Shake in Elyria. We've owned it for 23 years. And I would like to take that experience to Columbus to continue to balance the budget and work for you, my employer, in Columbus. I will work to bring jobs to Ohio. I think the restrictions on jobs are very high on businesses to bring jobs to Ohio, and I think we need to stop that. We need to bring jobs. We have owned our business for 23 years, and we can see the downfall in our immediate area. People that were doing very well in the past are now hurting. I've got children working for me that are working to help put food on the table in their families, and that's just uncalled for. We need to pull together. We need to stop the party politics, and we need to work as one rather than a Democrat and a Republican. We need to get Ohio going, and we need to start now. Thank you.
Thank you. First question. The Ohio education system is in dire need of a sound financial structure and funding sources. What would you implement to save our schools? Matt?
Well, first we need to change the focus. The governor likes to see it through the lens, as does Representative Boos, of school choice. It's about our fundamental responsibility for public school funding. Right now, we're giving about $500 million a year to charter schools. That's hurting schools here in Lorain and all across the state. Also, we need new revenue. I brought up the issue of why don't we take some of this fracking revenue, which would amount to $500 million, and put that towards education. That's what's done in states like Texas. I've also said, why don't we close tax loopholes? Those amount to $7 billion. Even if we close 10% of those loopholes, we could come up with $700 million for education. It's got to be a funding priority. If we want to send the right message to companies that want to come to Ohio and operate here, that we are the top funding state in the nation for education, that's a pretty strong message for economic development.
Thank you, Ms. Brady.
Yes, I believe in fair funding for schools. I believe we need to check and double check where our money is going in the schools. We are the 3rd or 4th highest administrators paid in the United States, and I think we need to start putting our money back into the classrooms and let the teachers teach instead of worrying about how many administrators we have and to take care of those. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question. If passed by the voters on November 6th, Issue 2 will fundamentally change the way congressional and Ohio legislative districts are drawn. Do you support or oppose Issue 2? Please explain your reason.
I do not support this. I don't like the fact that judges are going to be put in the middle of selecting a committee. The committee will be very hard to dismantle. I don't think that's right. I think that it should go according to the way it's done now. And I don't like the idea of certain parties being able to control the money and to control their salaries without questioning from anybody. Thank you.
Representative Lundy, same question.
Yes, I absolutely support Issue 2. All you have to do is take a look at that map in the back of the room. Lorain County is the poster child for what is wrong with the way the current process operates. The process would enable the judges to put in place 12 individuals, 4 Democrats, 4 Independents, 4 Republicans. 7 out of 12 would have to agree on what the final maps look like. The districts would be more compact. You wouldn't have Jim Sloan driving over to Lima and back to Elyria, covering 14 counties. You wouldn't have a district that stretches from the Huron County line all the way over to the corner of Avon. This is something that needs to be done instead of it being done in a bunker, in a hotel room, where districts are not competitive. When they're not competitive, you end up with extreme points of view. When you end up with extreme points of view, no one comes to the middle to work together for compromise.
Thank you. This will be your 3rd and final question. Over the past 2 years, the Ohio legislature has introduced and passed legislation regarding Ohio election practices. Some of these measures have been challenged in the state and federal court. What changes do you wish to see or deleted? I'm sorry.
Well, first off, I think wisely the courts have been making wise decisions as it relates to election law in Ohio. You know, it's really disappointing because we should be doing everything we can in this country to make sure as many people as possible vote. That's critical. That's important. But all I saw this last legislative session were efforts to try to, in essence, suppress the vote. That's not right. The thing that I found most interesting was we had a Skype visit from the Secretary of State in the state of Mississippi in our state government committee telling me that the state of Ohio should adopt the photo ID law for voters to vote. Now, this is coming from the state that basically started the poll tax. And I'm going to take their advice? Really? The system works well. 2002, 2004, 9 million people voted in those elections. The study showed that there were only 6 people who probably voted improperly. This is a boogeyman hiding under the bed that doesn't exist. It does not exist.
Thank you. Same question, Mrs. Brady.
Yes, I believe in the change. I believe in identification. I don't see anything wrong with it. You have to show your identification for any place that you go just about anymore. I have a granddaughter that has to show her picture ID to go into school every day. So if they have to do that, I don't see a problem to go in and vote and show an ID. I also believe that the voting could be cut back a little bit. I think too long of voting leads to fraud, and I think that that can be cut back a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you. And now for your final words, you have 1 minute. Mrs. Brady, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much. As I said before, I am not a career politician. But I plan on going to Columbus, and I plan on working hard for you. I'm not going to work just in Columbus. I am going to be out and about in my district, and I am going to work for you. You are my employer. I would appreciate your support, and I would appreciate your vote from here till November 6th. Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank Chip for hosting this event. It's clear the time has come for no more politics. I believe strongly that we must work together. Working together, however, requires a common sense approach. I pledge you I'll continue to reach across the aisle to come up with common sense solutions, real solutions for the real problems that we face. I'll continue to stand up for our middle class families, for our strong public schools, affordable college tuition, and protection for our consumers. Now, I voted to cut my own pay, and I'll continue to stand up against any plan by this governor to sell our turnpike. I pledge to continue to listen to you through my Lundy Listen sessions. Those will be ongoing. I work for you, and I'm asking for your vote on November 6th. If you'd like to learn more about me, visit my website, mattlundy.com. You can email me, matt@mattlundy.com. I'm here to serve you. It's time for no more politics. It's time that we actually roll up our sleeves and start working together in this state.
Thank you, and this will conclude the Ohio House of Representatives. Thank you. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
You will each have a 2-minute opening, and then you will have a 1-minute question and answers for 1 minute, and then a 1-minute closing. So if you would please start with your opening statement, 2 minutes.
Good evening. I'd like to thank Chip for having us here tonight. My name is A.J. Torres. I was born and raised in Lorain County. I'm running for the position of Lorain County Sheriff. I was raised in Sheffield Village. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm very proud 26-year member of the State Highway Patrol, and 21 years of those patrolling this county roads of Lorain County. I was an electrical contractor, a partnership. I was in real estate for I've been in real estate for over 18 years, selling and renting properties. I graduated out of Lorain Community College with extensive in-service training, experience in drug interdiction from the State Highway Patrol and management schools. I'm a proud father of 4, foster father to 2, and a lifelong member of Sacred Heart Chapel. I want to continue to serve because this is my calling. First in the Marine Corps, then the State Patrol. I love this county and the people here. I want to ensure that the communities that make up Lorain County are safe, that the deputies that I send out each day and might know that they are supported, that they have the staffing, training, equipment to make sure that they go home safe to their families at the end of the shift. An important responsibility of the sheriff is to run the county jail. This is part of keeping our community safe also. The facility must be secure and run according to state standards. I will do that. But it's equally important that the correction officers who work these pods are protected by officers in the street also. I also recognize that we have a tremendous obligation to those who live in the unincorporated areas. I guarantee that these townships, that they will also provide you protection no matter what the budget problems will be.
Thank you. Sheriff Stamati.
Thank you. I'm Phil Stamati. I'm proud to be your Lorain County Sheriff. I was born and raised in the city of Lorain for 55 years. Last 7 years, I moved to Brownhelm Township. I graduated from Lorain High School in 1968. I joined the United States Navy and served for 4 years and received an honorable discharge in 1972. I enrolled at Lorain County Community College and also took the Lorain Police Test and was hired as a patrolman in April of 1973. I have received an associate degree in police science from LCCC and graduated with honors in 1977. After 13 years in 1986, I went to work for Sheriff Martin Mahoney at the Sheriff's Office and was promoted to the rank of lieutenant in charge of the Detective Bureau. In 1988, I was promoted to captain and served as Director of Corrections, Law Enforcement Director, and also as a Personnel Officer. I was elected Lorain County Sheriff in 2000 and began serving the citizens as Sheriff January 1st, 2001. I have 39 years of law enforcement experience, 26 years at the Sheriff's Office, and 12 years as the Lorain County Sheriff. I am married to Mary Jo DeAngelis. We have 4 daughters, Tony, Valerie, Monica, and Jessica, who is deceased from cancer. We have 2 grandchildren, Mackenzie and Skylar. The primary duties of a sheriff's office are to maintain and run a county jail, service and security of the common police courts, full police protection to the unincorporated areas of the county, maintain and run a civil office. The Sheriff's Office is responsible for the law enforcement protection of 18 townships, about 55,000 people. The Sheriff's Office presently has 231 employees and a budget of $16.8 million. In 2009, the Sheriff's Office budget was cut 20%, resulting in the layoffs of 20 deputies, 2 captains, and 1 secretary. Our Drug Task Force works in conjunction with all city police departments, the DEA, FBI, Marshal Service, and many more agencies. Since I've been sheriff, the Drug Task Force has brought in over $3 million in grants. The Law Enforcement Division has received over $2 million in grants to bring back some laid-off deputies and update needed equipment throughout the Sheriff's Office. I believe I have the necessary experience, commitment, and leadership to lead the Sheriff's Office into the future, and I'm the best qualified candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. The first question, with all the budget cuts in the county government, what can the Sheriff's Office do to guarantee the security of the residents of the county?
I think we've been doing that since we had our budget cuts in 2009. We've gotten creative, bringing some deputies back. Obviously, we got 2 environmental officers that we brought back that are paid through the solid waste money. They also can assist out there. We have a weight scale guy. By law, I pushed Ken Carney, the engineer, and he agreed with me, but it's in the law that you have to have a weight scale officer because we have the amount of roads in this county. He also is able to be out there. His main duties, obviously, is the weigh the trucks, but he backs up the officers also. I have 2 officers that serve about 2,600 warrants. I have 2 officers that check on 700 sexual predators. But what we have done is gotten some grants. Thanks to Sherrod Brown, Marcy Capter, and Betty Sutton, we were able to bring back 3 deputies, 2 through the COPS program and 1 through a child sexual predator program. Working with the commissioners with the combining of 911, we were able to bring back 3 laid-off deputies. So we've worked very hard to keep those guys going.
Thank you. Same question.
With the budget cuts that we've had, I understand the grants and everything the Sheriff's Department has had. But now we have casino money coming in. There's over $538,000 that are being awarded to Lorain County through the commissioner's budget. We also have drug forfeitures, and if I'm elected sheriff, we're going to have road patrols as far as drug interdiction programs where we can receive more interdiction money that goes into not into the general fund but is used for equipment and patrol cars and other functions of the Sheriff's Department, so that way we can have more money in our general fund to get more deputies on the road. So if I'm elected sheriff, those are my things I intend to do.
Thank you. Next question. Concerning the townships in Lorain County, Issue 40 is on the ballot to form a sheriff district out in the townships. What is your view on this issue?
Obviously, there are many people who believe that this is necessary and they support Issue 40. I also support Issue 40 because it would certainly make it easier to provide services. But I also understand that there are those who cannot afford to pay additional taxes or who feel they cannot do better with what we have. I will respect whatever decision our citizens in the township make. But what I promise you that no matter what the budget problems we face, we will always provide protection to the townships, that there's the core mission of the Sheriff's Department, even if it's me or my command staff. All the full-time laid-off deputies who wish to return have been called back, and there has been additional hiring and promotions. It's just a matter of priorities.
Thank you. Same question.
I think it was an excellent concept by the township trustees getting together. Out of the 18 townships, 16 of them went together. Obviously, it's going to be put up to a vote of the people, but I applaud the trustees for putting it together. Captain Drozdowski, my law enforcement director, has been going out talking to many people in the townships. And one good thing about this is it's only the township people only that are voting on it. Nobody in cities or villages will be voting on this. So obviously people know that budgets are very tight and that the commissioners don't have a whole lot of money coming in right now. He mentions casino money, but he forgot to mention that the property valuations went down about $800,000. So obviously that's going to be a cut in some of the money that the commissioners are going to get. But like I say, I applaud the township trustees because I think they're doing a good thing. I was always for this. At first, my candidate says he didn't know if it would pass or not. Well, I think it's got a good shot of passing because the people out in the townships, I think they know that this is something that's definitely needed.
Thank you. Your final question. If elected sheriff, in your view, what would the Sheriff's Department look like 4 years down the road?
If elected sheriff, it would be recognized as a leader in law enforcement with a reputation for using technology, innovation to provide the best services for our citizens. It would be a department that uses crime analysis to determine where and when crime is actually occurring and then comes up with a plan to address it. It would be a department that has a four-year strategic plan to use as a roadmap. It would be a department that is nationally accredited so that our citizens have faith in the Lorain County Sheriff's Office and run according to the best of its practices. At last, it would be a department that respects each of its employees so they understand that our department's most important resource, that they feel supported and appreciated.
Thank you. And now for your, this will conclude your questions. And now for your final 1 minute. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sheriff.
That's okay, Mary. You know, obviously, I think that, well, I forgot the question now. Was where's the sheriff's office in 4 years from now? That's right. I think we got a pretty progressive department right now. Like I say, I've been there 26 years. I got mentored under Sheriff Mahoney for 14 years. So I've learned all the operations of the sheriff's office. I'm not trying to come in as an outsider to learn things. I've been there, and like I say, he's mentored me very well, I think, you know, by working all the different divisions. But I think in 4 years, the technology is so advanced now that we have these mobile data terminals in cars where guys write their reports in cars. They get all the information. You run license checks through them. Years ago, you never had any of that kind of stuff. I think we're going to see more of that down the future here in the next 4 years. Also, consolidation is another thing. I've talked to Chief Rivera from Lorain and Chief Whiteley from Elyria. We know that we're going to have to start working together closely to possibly consolidate some of the services. Why have duplications of everything, just like we did with the 911? We combined our communications with the 911 dispatch, and I think that's worked out very well. But that is the future, to work smarter, and we will work harder, I can tell you that. Thank you.
Thank you. And you want to give your last 1 minute closing?
Yes, thanks, Barry. I think the difference, I want to thank Chips for holding this candidate tonight, too, also. First of all, I think it comes down to the experience. I mean, like I say, I've been there 26 years. I got 39 years in law enforcement. I was a Lorain policeman for 13 years, and I've been at the sheriff's office for 26 years. I've dealt with all the unions out there. We had 5 unions at one time. We're down to 4. I negotiated contracts with them. I was the personnel officer, so I know all the issues that come up with family medical leave and all the different problems that employees have. I think I've been fair and honest with all of them, and I think none of them will tell you that. Also, I think you can ask anybody at the sheriff's office. I'm the first guy to arrive in the morning. I'm usually the last guy to go home. I probably average 50 to 60 hours of a work week. But I know that goes with the responsibility of being sheriff. It's not an 8 to 4 job. You got to be there to do things. That's why I think I've been endorsed by 13 different police organizations, most of them in Lorain County and Elyria Chronicle-Telegram. They recognize that experience also. Thank you.
Thank you. Your 1 minute closing?
To be sheriff, you really need skills in different areas, administration and operations. Sheriff's Committee has spent his last 20 years handling the numbers. I have spent the last 26 years on the front lines, on the roads with the deputies, patrolling the streets of Lorain County. The economy is slowly getting better, and we have a handle on budgeting. What Lorain County needs right now is emphasis on protection. Protecting our citizens from the surge of drug trafficking and all the violence, that crime that it brings. Protecting our deputies from those who have harm our heroes. We need someone and the passion. I have that because I have been with the witness for it for 26 years. I guarantee that I will bring on a command staff that understands the management side that will assist me in making my decisions. But if needed, they will be out on the road patrolling with me, protecting and serving. And I really think that this is important of a law enforcement agency reflecting the community it serves. We can do better. So I ask for your support on November 6th. Thank you.
This concludes the sheriff's. Thank you. Thank you guys very much. Thank you, Sheriff. Next, if we can start with the commissioner, the county commissioners, Ted Kalo and Phil Van Turen.
This is for the position of county commissioner. We'll start with the 2-minute opening. Commissioner Ted Kalo.
Thank you. Thank you once again. It's a pleasure to be at CHIP. You guys do a great job, a great service to the community. For those of you not familiar with me, I'm a small businessman from the city of Lorain. I've been very active in my community over the years, whether it's helping with the American Cancer Society, Relay for Life, the Palace Civic Center, or the Salvation Army, and many other organizations. I was elected on a platform, a one-stop shop for economic development. In 2005, we started forming what's called Lorain County Growth Partnership. It's turned out to be the second best economic development engine in the Northeast Ohio district of Team NEO. We have created or expanded over 6,500 jobs through the worst recession of all time in just a 5-year period. Working on the Board of Commissioners, I have led the charge on many pieces of legislation. We recently formed the Lorain County Land Bank, which is going to help clear our neighborhoods of blighted, dilapidated, and foreclosed homes, eliminating criminal activity and giving our residents the chance to recover and rebuild their neighborhoods, a great place then to raise their families. I serve on NOACA, which is a Northeast Ohio area-wide coordinating agency, which delivers all the funds for our infrastructure, whether it's new roads, new highways, our sewers, our water, our air quality. Actually, one of the best things I've ever done as a county commissioner was I was able to bring to Lorain County the new Avon interchange. It went through quite a fight. We had to challenge Cuyahoga County and the city of Cleveland to let us build an interchange. Working with Mayor Smith and Rob Berner in a bipartisan effort, we worked with Cuyahoga County to get a new interchange built, which has a new Cleveland clinic, and it has more businesses coming, more jobs for the people who live in Lorain County. I've also worked to change legislation at the state level. I serve on the County Commissioners Association. I'm very active down there, helping bring money back to Lorain County through changing legislation, whether it's indigent attorney fees and receiving more money, or whether it's changing the way workforce development is done to retrain the displaced people in our community so they're able to work in the new jobs we have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Phil Van Turen.
Thanks very much. Thanks for the opportunity to be here tonight. Thanks to Chip. Thanks to my opponent, Ted. I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation. My name is Phil Van Turen. I'm a candidate for County Commissioner this year. I'm a 2-term city councilman at large in Amherst. I'm a proud husband. I'm a proud father. I'm a veteran of the Army National Guard, and my family's lived in Lorain County for more than a century. My great-great-grandfather actually came to the city of Lorain way back in the 1890s to work at the steel mill and take care of his family, and we've been here ever since. I'm very proud of that fact. I'm running for commissioner for a very simple reason, because I feel that our elected officials on the county level need to start leading by example when it comes to being fiscally responsible and showing respect for taxpayer dollars. I hear a lot of incumbent politicians nowadays talk about how they think we should spend government money, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think there is such a thing as government money. Let's be truthful, it's taxpayer money. And as elected officials, we need to remember that it's our constituents, it's those hardworking families who are ultimately paying those bills. Ted's a really nice guy. I've gotten to know him over the last few months. I think he cares about Lorain County. But I think he's shown a lack of leadership over the last 8 years, and I think that the county suffered because of it. When he came into office, he had a $20 million carryover of your taxpayer dollars. Soon after that, he decided that he would create a new job in the county level, new, very well-paying job for his political campaign manager, who just happened to be the perfect person for that position. Soon after that, he decided to spend $175,000 of your taxpayer money on refurbishing his office. That's not leadership. It's not what you deserve. You deserve better. Listen, I'm a big underdog in this race. I understand that. But you know what? That's a mantle that I wear proudly. I love being an underdog. I love fighting for what's right no matter what the odds are. And I'm out there working very hard for one reason: to show you, to prove to you how hard I will work for you if I'm your next Lorain County Commissioner. I want to lead by example, and I want to make you proud. I ask that you vote for Phil Van Turen for Lorain County Commissioner this year. Thanks.
All right, first question up, and we'll go back to you, sir. St. Joseph Community Center this building faces a possible closure due to insufficient occupancy. Lorain County and the city of Lorain have taken out loans to sustain the building's viability. What would you recommend as another alternative?
Sure, absolutely. And I actually think that the question's a little bit misstated. It wasn't the city and the county that took out the loan. There are loan guarantees on that, but the Community Development Corporation is the one that took out the loan. Having said that, though, listen, I like St. Joe's. I like the facility. I want to see it succeed. I think it's an asset to our community. But I want you to understand that my first responsibility is going to be to the taxpayers of Lorain County. Whenever as commissioner, whenever I spend taxpayer dollars, I'm always going to ask myself 3 very simple questions. And here they are. Is it legal? Is it necessary? And can we afford it? And if the answer to any of those 3 questions is no, then I'm not going to appropriate the taxpayer funds. Now, my biggest concern when it comes to St. Joe's is the veterans. I know what they've done for our country. I'm a veteran myself. Can I see a raise of hands? Who's a veteran in this room? thank you for your service. I'll tell you what, any decision that I make that has to do with veterans, I'm not going to ask the opinion of politicians, of political buddies, of bureaucrats. I'm going to ask the opinion of veterans in Lorain County, and they are the ones who are going to help me make my decisions about what affects them.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner, same question.
Well, I guess we're sort of past it at this point. This morning, the Board of County Commissioners, after negotiating along with the City of Lorain, with the Ohio Department of Development, we were able to negotiate a deal that will save the taxpayers money in the long run. As my opponent said, we were co-signers on the loan for St. Joe's to a tune of $1.35 million. The state of Ohio, working with us, has negotiated to take $850,000. Today, Lorain County Commissioners agreed to pay their $425,000, saving us 35% on the money. I have been a proponent of the St. Joe's facility. I worked out with the first two deals. The first deal 2 years ago to keep that center open. I've been actively involved working to find other people to go into that center. And this year, those problems wouldn't have started if the way it was communicated hadn't come the way it was. We worked very hard to keep that place going. As of today, with this deal that's being done, the City of Lorain is engaged in conversations with a private developer to take over that facility, to continue to keep the VA there, to bring Valor Home into the project and keep them there so we don't have to worry about that anymore, and keep our current tenants housed in that facility. I'm sure it's going to change to some degree on the configuration, but it is going to move forward after today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next question. In 2009, Cuyahoga County workers approved a dramatic change in the county government, abolishing all elected officials save for the prosecutor's office and replacing them with an elected county executive and district council. Would this change work in Lorain County?
A couple avenues on that. Cuyahoga County went through a large corruption scandal that we're all aware of, and it was pushed by the residents of that county to change the way they did their government. It's the second form of executive government in the state of Ohio. The other 86 counties are a board of commissioners of 3. Currently, our system works in Lorain County. Again, if there was a referendum by the citizens, though, to change to an executive form, we would look at that also.
Thank you. Mr. Ventura?
I actually somewhat agree with Ted on this issue. I think this is something that would be up to the voters of Lorain County, and maybe it's a little bit premature for us to be asking this question right now. But what this really comes down to, since we're talking about voter trust, is that the electorate in Cuyahoga County decided that they couldn't trust their current form of government and that they wanted to change it. And I think that trust is a big issue in this election as well, especially when it comes to our local government, our county government, asking for more taxpayer resources. I think that one of the reasons why we've been unsuccessful in passing a higher sales tax in Lorain County is because our electorate doesn't fundamentally trust that our county leaders, our commissioners most specifically, are doing the best job that they can and are managing taxpayer dollars responsibly. When they see closed-door meetings that don't include all the commissioners, when they see commissioners spending money on frivolous projects that they themselves couldn't have the luxury of spending it on, they don't trust the commissioners to take more money away from them. And if we want to see a higher sales tax in Lorain County, if it's necessary, we need to first earn back the trust of Lorain County's voters. And as commissioner, I will work hard on earning back their trust and leading by example.
You have your 1-minute closing now. Thank you.
Already?
Yes, sir.
I thought we had, are we doing 3 questions?
You got another one.
You only gave us 3 questions.
Or you can do a mass transit system.
Flip a coin.
Yeah, either one. There's 3 and 4, Antonio.
Ask all 4. Let's go for it.
No, well, we have other things on the agenda. We want to make sure that everybody gets an equal time to be able to answer their questions. So
we
if people
both
do,
like being in front of the camera.
I'm sure you do, and I'm not trying to take that away from you. But we do have other people that we want to talk.
Just kidding.
All right, Joel, pick
So
one.
you
If we
go for the close?
No, the 1-minute close, please.
Okay.
1-minute closing already.
Yes, sir.
2 questions. All right. Listen, one of the most important things I learned when I was in the Army is that the greatest leaders are those who lead by example. The greatest leaders inspire us to do the right thing by first doing it themselves. That's the kind of leader I want to be for Lorain County. I don't operate by saying it's my way or the highway. I want to lead by example. I want to help bring all sides to a consensus, and I want to inspire people on all levels of Lorain County government to cut wasteful spending. I'm not running for county commissioner to hand out jobs to my political campaign manager or my friends or my family members. If I am elected, I will be the single most transparent commissioner that Lorain County has ever seen. I will make it my mission to share as much information as I can with you. You guys are the taxpayers. You're paying the bills. You deserve to have a say in how your money's being spent. Now, I guarantee you, you're not always going to agree with me. I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent, but you will always know where I stand. And if you honor me with your vote, I promise you, I will lead by example. I will make you proud, and I will inspire you. And I respectfully request that when you vote for your next Lorain County Commissioner, you vote for Phil Van Truin. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Van Truin, and thank you, Chip. Again, I've served as your county commissioner. I believe I've served you well. I work very hard at what I do. I have been a loud and vocal advocate for local government. I challenged the governor by forming a 13-county bipartisan coalition to fight the sale or lease of the Turnpike. I was the first public official to come out locally against Senate Bill 5. My opponent wouldn't support the same resolutions that they had in Amherst City Council. I have worked on a bipartisan level with every community in this county solving their problems. I spoke about the Avon Interchange, major job growth, working with a Republican mayor out of Avon Lake and a Democrat mayor out of Avon. I have spent the last 8 years of my career working to make Lorain County a better place to live. We are under tight constraints when it comes financially. We're the 9th largest county in the state of Ohio, and we're in the bottom 4 for sales tax. And I still propose we need more revenue to give a better quality of life to our residents. We should have a true transit. We should have deputies on the road. We should have proper corrections officers at our county jail. We need to provide the services that make the best life we can for each other and provide for our families accordingly. Thank you very much. I'd appreciate your support from now until November 6th because the polls are open. Thank you.
Okay, John. Thank you. Thank you very much.
See you tomorrow?
Yeah. Next up, we have Lori Kukowski and Mike Musto. We will begin with the 2-minute opening. Ms. Kukowski.
Go first. Thank you. Hi, I am your Commissioner, Lori Kukowski, and I'm no stranger to this group. And I've been here many times asking for your support. And I want to thank Chip for having this every year, or actually twice a year, to get the voters informed of who they want to vote for in the election. I was first elected as 8th Ward Council representative in the city of Lorain, which I served 3 consecutive terms from the year 2000 to 2005. I was elected and became your county commissioner in 2005, which is why I'm here today to ask you to trust me again for the next 4 years. I believe the residents of Lorain County deserve to be represented by a person with integrity and a person that cares about the working families in Lorain County. I care about the struggles facing so many of these families in these tough economic times. I will continue the partnerships that we have created with our economic development drivers throughout Lorain County, which includes the Lorain County Community College, the Joint Vocational School, Glide, Team Lorain County, Team NEO, and others that have been instrumental in creating jobs throughout Lorain County. I will continue to work hard to improve the quality of life for our residents and strive to do all that I can to adequately fund our Sheriff's Department to keep our people and our residents safe in Lorain County. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Musto.
Good evening. I want to thank you for inviting us. I want to thank Chip for putting this on every year to give you an idea of where we all stand. My name is Mike Musto, and I am running for County Commissioner. I am married. I have 2 children, 3 grandchildren. I have lived in Lorain County for 25 years. I believe I will be able to help Lorain County due to my experience as a township trustee and the owner of small businesses. I've used my business and financial experience to help Columbia Township stay fiscally responsible. During these tough economic times, we have been able to grow our savings. In 3 years, we have added significantly to our rainy day fund. Through teamwork, we have increased services within the township and reduced costs. As a board of 3, we also have found that working together goes a long way to get things done. 8 years ago, Lorain County had over $20 million in savings. In the last 8 years, my opponent has spent all $20 million and imposed sales taxes twice. Lorain County is broke. My opponent still favors tax increases. I have a platform that includes 4 items that will get us on the right track. Fair representation. County services should be structured to serve all areas equally. Careful spending. I strongly support a performance audit. Job creation, getting people back to work, must be a top priority. And responsive government, we must have real conversations between our commissioners and the citizens. There are 2 distinct different directions that the Lorain County can go in. We can stay on the current path or change course and get our spending under control and move forward. Together, we can bring Lorain County prosperity and fiscal responsibility. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I am asking for your vote. Thanks again, and good night.
No, we just got started. We're not done yet.
Don't worry about it. I thought I only had a 2-minute program.
Yeah, that's it. You do. Okay, well, Mr. Muster, we're going to come back right to you, right back to you with the first question. Okay? All right, then. Oh, that's okay. What can the Office of Commissioners do or implement to help increase the buses and the bus routes in the city of Lorain and surrounding suburbs? How can the citizens of Lorain County, maintain a public transit system?
It's catchy, see?
Oh, yes,
it is catchy. Okay. As far as the buses go, a year ago or a year and a half ago, the budget was $100,000 for them. It was then cut to $50,000, which of course eliminated some bus routes. Now just recently, we've added $60,000 to take one route down to Cleveland. If we would have used that $60,000, we would have been able to raise the budget back up to $110,000. I believe we should take care of our Lorain County before we start shipping people off to Cuyahoga County. People can't get to work in Lorain County, and I think that's more important than going down to the casinos to gamble.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner?
Thank you. As my opponent said, we have cut transit down significantly, unfortunately, and it affects those people trying to get to jobs and school and doctor's appointments and things of that nature. The problem with our transit system in Lorain County is the fact that every community that has a transit system also has a dedicated source of revenue that funds that transit system. Lorain County does not have that. We had tried for many years to fund it from our general fund, which is not done in any other community that I know of. We really do need a source of revenue, whether the citizens that are using the transit system would like to form a committee to try to convince the people of Lorain County to put some type of revenue on the ballot for that, because we do need it. It's very necessary. As far as the bus route to Cleveland, we did not put that into effect. It's a trial to see how it would work. We knew people were going to go to the casino. What we wanted to do was use the money that would be generated from those people going to the casino to try to help those who wanted to go into Cleveland to work. So it's a trial basis, and if it doesn't work, we won't continue with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. You have the next question also. The St. Joseph's Community Center, this building, faces a possible closure due to insufficient occupancy. Lorain County and the City of Lorain have taken out loans, actually it was Community Development Department, as we were told earlier, to help sustain the building viability. What would you recommend as another alternative?
As it was stated before, we are loan guarantees for South Shore. When South Shore decides to close St. Joe's, we were on the hook for $625,000 from the city and $625,000 from the county. We did work with the state, the city, the county. We all worked together, made some concessions, decided that the state would go with $425,000 for the city, $425,000 for the county. So that's where we were today. Unanimously by all 3 commissioners were voted to accept that $425,000. So it is a reduction. It's not a bailout. It is a workout. this is money that we would have to pay regardless of what happens, so at least we are paying less than what we were originally on the hook for. It's very important to keep St. Joe's open. We have had millions of dollars of taxpayers' money put into our veterans VA clinic here, and we also are working on the Valor Home that was wanting to come into St. Joe's facility. So we do need to, as Lorain County and city and state officials, do whatever we can to keep St. Joe's a viable operation, to be good stewards of past money that has been spent on this facility.
Thank you, Commissioner. And now, Mr. Musto.
Tough question sitting in the building that we're talking about. I'm very happy that we were able to limit the amount of money that we had to spend on the guarantee. We are guaranteeing money to people who are in private enterprise. I don't know if that's really a fiscally conservative. I think possibly that, in my view, I don't think we should guarantee loans for people who are in the private industry. As far as keeping St. Joe's open, if it appears as though they're working with another group, and if that group can find a way to do it, I'm all for it. There are other alternatives for the veterans, and I absolutely believe that the veterans deserve the best they can get. As you walk out of the building, take a look at the walls, take a look at the condition of the building, and I guess that's the decision everybody has to make. Stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Musto. And that concludes the questions. You will now have a 1-minute closing statement. Thank you.
Oh, me again?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There are two distinct directions that Lorain County can go in. We can stay on the current path or change course to get our spending under control and move forward. A good commissioner should possess good business sense, good people skills, and a working business knowledge. As a township trustee and a successful business owner, I feel I have all the right qualifications to lead the county forward. Together, we can bring Lorain County prosperity and fiscal responsibility. Now, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, and I'm asking you for your vote. Thank you again, and good night.
Thank you, Juanita, for keeping us on track. Thank you.
Thank you again for having us. I did mention in my opening statement about the Sheriff's Department. I just wanted to let you know it's very important to keep the sheriffs on the road. I did spearhead the combining of the 911 dispatch with the 911 center with the Sheriff's Dispatch. This saved the County General Fund $400,000 a year, and it also generated enough savings to put those 3 additional deputies on the road. Ever since we've been making cuts throughout Lorain County, I have always strived to either not cut the Sheriff's Department or cut them less than we cut anyone else. I also think it's important to note that the Board of Commissioners has had female representation on the board since 1989. It took 70 years for Lorain County to put a woman on the board, and I think it would be a huge step backwards to not have a female on the Board of Commissioners. All the decisions that are made affect men and women alike, and I think it gives a good balance. So I would appreciate your support in November, and well, from now until November, since voting has started, and I would appreciate your support, and thank you very much for your time and attendance.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. That concludes the discussion with the commissioners. We will now go into the issues, and we will start with issue 2, the redistricting amendment. For the issue is Dan Ramos. Contrary is Jonathan Petrea. Could we have them both come up, please?
I'm State Representative Dan Ramos from right here in Lorain County, and I have the honor to speak to you about the importance of voting yes on issue 2. Every 10 years after the census, Ohio redraws its congressional and legislative districts. The problem with the current system, though, is that it's set up in such a way as to allow the political party in control to control everything. Due to this, the lines were drawn with a singular purpose, and that is the making certain that the party who drew the lines would maximize their control over the Ohio legislature and the Ohio delegation to Congress, regardless of the will of the people. One of the best examples of how badly split a community can be is right here in Lorain County. Now, the current congressional lines that we voted on for the last 10 years, which was gerrymandered as well, split Lorain County into 2 congressional districts spread across 7 counties. This new map splits Lorain County into 3 congressional districts split across 25 counties. 25 counties splitting communities of interest, breaking up minority communities, splitting neighborhoods. If you and your neighbor across the street are in different congressional districts, as they are in Lorain County, it'll be harder for your neighborhood's concerns to be heard in Washington and harder to get results. I'm in the legislature, and I can tell you, Lorain County could have been united into 1 congressional district, like we used to be, if those who drew the map cared at all about keeping our community together, rather than simply serving their political interests. My friends, this system is broken. By voting yes on issue 2, we can fix it. We can take the politics out of it, rather than allowing the political party in control to draw the lines. With issue 2, the people can draw the lines. So democracy works the way it should be, by allowing every citizen to choose the representative who they feel represents them best, rather than allowing a political party to choose them for us. Put simply, voting yes on issue 2 assures an open process with no more shady, backroom, closed-door deals in Columbus. Voting yes on issue 2 means no political party will control the process, and most importantly, voting yes on issue 2 assures that the people will be in charge. Vote yes to strengthen our democracy. Vote yes for a fair system and better representation in our community. Vote yes on issue 2.
Next up, we have Mr. Jonathan Petrea.
Good evening, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here to discuss our position, the no position, on issue 2. Quite simply, issue 2 is the wrong approach for redistricting here in Ohio. We agree that redistricting can be improved. Issue 2 is not the vehicle that'll take us there. It's the wrong, the medicine is more toxic than the ailment. A number of newspapers, including the Plain Dealer, the Elyria Chronicle-Telegram, the Lorain Morning Journal, the Columbus Dispatch, in addition to statewide associations like the Farm Bureau, the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, oppose issue 2. Of particular concern is that the amendment requires the Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court, and more precisely, selected appellate court judges, to play a role in selecting the initial 42 candidates for the 12-member commission. Involving an impartial judiciary into this most highly charged political process got the attention of the nonpartisan Ohio State Bar Association and the Ohio Judicial Conference. Both organizations oppose issue 2 and say the involvement of judges is a misuse of the judiciary, a misuse of the judiciary. It compromises the separation of powers between the legislative and the judicial branches. I would encourage legislators to join bipartisan commissions that are working on bipartisan approaches to fixing the system. This is not the right fix. It's bad for Ohio. Please vote no on issue 2.
Next up, we have issue 39, Lorain City Schools, Superintendent Tom Tucker.
As a product of Lorain Schools and my parents and grandparents' product of Lorain Schools, and as a new superintendent of Lorain City Schools, I'd ask you to vote yes for issue 39. The question is, why does Lorain City Schools need new operating funds? Well, we haven't had any new operating funds in over 20 years. It's been since 1992. Now, the community has been extremely generous in passing multiple renewals and extremely generous in passing a bond issue, of which we are finishing our final project, the high school here, coming up. But 20 years without new money has been difficult. The state has helped out, but lately, as you know, they have been cost shifting a lot of the state monies to the local level. because of a number of things that happened, the non-reimbursement of the TPP and the lowering of the foundation monies and a number of other issues, we've lost a lot of money. So we're asking for a small amount. We're only asking for 4.8 mils, which is the smallest amount asked. Will this solve all our problems? No. Do I still have to be fiscally responsible? Absolutely. You're still going to have some reductions. But what you need to remember is when we all went to school, if I ask everyone in here, what do you remember? You're going to say, oh, the football game. You're going to say the band or something that you remember. And those are the programs that are somewhat at risk. We had to go to half-day kindergarten. That will be reinstituted to full day if the levy passes. We're looking at a small amount. We need your support. Everybody can find a reason why not to vote for the levy. We need you to find a reason to vote for the levy, to go forward for us. It's for the children, those kids that you see walking around and out there that need that opportunity. We still are the largest district in the county. We educate the most. We need your assistance. We're not overreaching. We still have a lot of work to do, and we know that. Tomorrow morning, you're going to read that the state test scores were released today, and you're going to read that our scores were not good. We know that. Taking away money will not help us. We need your assistance. We need you to think long and hard and trust us. This is one time when this is a renewable levy, so in 7 years you'll have the opportunity to vote yea or nay for that. But what I need you to do is to help Lorain City school children and help us vote yes for issue 39. Thank you.
Next up, we have issue 13, Lorain City Tax. We'll start with Mayor Chase Rittenauer.
With local government cuts from the state of Ohio, the city of Lorain will lose more than $2 million in revenue next year. As a result of these cuts and as a result of assets like our roads and parks not receiving adequate funding, the city of Lorain is on this year's ballot with issue 13, a 0.5% income tax increase. Issue 13 taxes income and does not, repeat, does not, tax those on retirement disability, Social Security, will allow us to make up for the revenue from the deep and drastic state cuts. But it goes further than that. Treading water and status quo are not acceptable for Lorain, a Lorain that desperately needs to invest in its assets. And because of that, issue 13 will allow us to do more by moving forward and bringing back the city's Parks Department to care for Lorain's 56 neighborhood parks and investing $20 million in roadway repair within the next 2 to 3 years, while also generating funds for annual road work and maintenance programs. Without question, this would be the largest infrastructure investment in generations and is desperately needed to make Lorain competitive for development opportunities. Issue 13 is not a Democratic Party issue, as the opposition most surely will allege. It's a community issue. It's garnered support from business leaders, educators, civic leaders, as well as Republicans and independents. In fact, in a true measure of putting Lorain above partisanship, former Republican Mayor Craig Fulton has endorsed issue 13 as he knows of its importance in moving Lorain forward. Issue 13 is not a cure-all, but it's a critical piece of the puzzle. The focus on improving our housing stock and removing development obstacles from our waterfront are critical steps in opening Lorain for investment and development. But safety, roads, parks, and quality of life contribute to that as well. Issue 13 is how we must address those issues. We must invest in ourselves before others will invest in us. On November 6th, please join the many community civic, religious leaders, along with Democrats and Republicans and independents, in casting a yes vote for issue 13, the only road for the city of Lorain. Thank you.
Ms. Joyce Early.
In the city of Lorain, infrastructure has been ignored and neglected for about 30 years. We have the highest income tax of any city in Lorain County, and our city looks the worst. We have a community development department that employs 20 people with an annual budget of $1.6 million, but it doesn't even look like we have a community development department. Citizens have been investing for years with no return on their investment. They have already paid for the roads to be repaired. The money was used for something else. There is a solution. The city of Lorain requires those that work here but don't live here to pay a pittance in comparison to people who live here. For every $2 that people who live here pay, those that work here only pay a quarter. This increase is passed. If this increase passes, that won't change. They'll still only pay a quarter, while we pay 2 1/4 to their quarter. They're not paying their fair share. Other cities make people that work there and don't live there pay equally. So this is a revenue stream that we're ignoring, and we need to make it right and let these people pay their fair share. It's an untapped resource. Families cannot afford 2.5%. It's just too high. And if you're interested in hearing or reading more about this issue, you can go to LorainTaxRelief.com or on Facebook, Citizens Against Issue 13 on Facebook. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Issue 41, Lorain County Joint Vocational Schools, Dr. Glenn Faircloth.
Good evening. I hail from Dayton, Ohio, a similar town such as Lorain City. We too face difficult times. Schools are very important to all of our communities. Here I come before you to talk about Issue 41. Issue 41 is a renewal. It's not a tax increase. Issue 41 is responsible for approximately 19% of our operation costs at the JVS. Many of you all know of someone or some entity that the JVS has affected. We talk about jobs, bringing them back to the county, where at our institution, we're able to provide those things. Over the recent years, we have trimmed back our budget as well. We cut approximately $1.3 million. Now we're at a situation where we have a renewal. Issue 41, this renewal is a 5-year renewal. If this renewal does not pass this time, we will be forced to ask the community for new money. And we know how those times are. So I ask for the county to support us with Issue 41. It's simply a renewal. It is not a tax increase. So we can continue to provide great services that we have provided over the 41 years that we've been in existence. With this renewal, it will allow us to continue to offer these opportunities, and we plan to expand those. Some of the candidates mentioned transportation issues, which certainly affects the ability for us to provide services to some of those areas. We have ideas, but I need your support. Please help us pass Issue 41, which is simply a renewal only. It's not a tax increase. I thank you all for your time. Please have a good evening.
Thank you. This concludes the issue section. I'll ask my colleague, Mary Santiago, to come back up, and we will be working now with Lorain County Court of Common Pleas, Domestic Division, Frank Janik and Richard Ramsey, please.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to everybody tonight. My name is Richard Ramsey. I am a candidate for Lorain County Domestic Relations Court Judge. Let me explain to you that the reason why I believe that I am the candidate for this, the best candidate for this race is I believe I'm the most qualified and prepared candidate. Let me tell you a little bit about the Lorain County Domestic Relations Court. This particular job covers 2 divisions of the court. One is Domestic Relations Division, one is Juvenile Court Division. The Domestic Relations Division will hear termination of marriage proceedings, custody disputes that arise out of those proceedings, and also domestic violence civil protection orders, whereas the Juvenile Court will hear custodies involving unmarried parents. It will also hear juvenile delinquency proceedings as well as dependency or children's services cases. I have much more experience in this kind of court handling these kinds of cases than my opponent handles. Throughout the years that we've been practicing law, when you look at termination of marriage proceedings, I've handled over 100. My opponent has handled 3, and only 1 of those actually resulted in the marriage being terminated. I have handled, in addition to those kinds of cases, I've also handled all types of cases in the juvenile court. I have tried almost every kind of case in the domestic relations court and the juvenile court. Also, the other thing that differs us, the 2 of us, are sort of the fact that one of us is a parent, one of us is not. And I'm not trying to be critical, except insofar as what that's done for me is it's provided me with a certain perspective and some life experiences that lend themselves to this particular job. A domestic relations judge is going to be tasked with problem-solving domestic relations issues. And I have lots of experience doing that both as a professional practitioner as well as a parent. And that's really what's going to have to happen here. I talk to my kids every day. I talk to other kids every day. I've got a lot more experience in that regard. I think that experience will serve me. My name's Richard Ramsey. I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you, Chip. Good evening, everyone. My name is Frank Janik, and I am running for the Lorain County Domestic Relations Court Judge. I'd like to share with you a little bit about my background and experience. I've been an attorney for 22 years after graduating from the Ohio State University College of Law with honors. Those 22 years of legal experience is more than 2 times that of my opponent, who's been an attorney for 9 years. During my 22 years, I've served as an assistant Lorain County prosecutor. I've served as acting judge in the Oberlin Municipal Court. I've taught criminal law at the Lorain County Community College. And as a prosecutor and private practitioner, I've handled thousands of cases. And I've handled well over 100 cases in the Lorain County Domestic Relations Court. I'd like to tell you about my community involvement. I've been elected to 2 terms as a councilman at large in the city of Amherst. I am chair of the Finance Committee presently, and I've chaired the Police and Fire Committee. I've served as president of the Amherst Library Board of Trustees. I've served on the board of directors for the Amherst Historical Society. I'm an active parishioner at St. Joseph's Catholic Church, where I serve as the Eucharistic minister and lector, and I've served on the Finance Council. I've been active in the legal community, where I served as chair of the criminal law section of the Bar Association, and I currently am on the executive board for the Lorain County Bar Association. I'd like to share with you my endorsements because I'm proud of them. I'm endorsed by the Lorain Police and Fire Departments. I'm endorsed by the Elyria Police and Fire Departments. I'm endorsed by the Chronicle Telegram. I'm endorsed by the Avon Fraternal Order of Police, the Wellington, Sheffield Lake, and Sheffield Village Fraternal Order of Police, by the Lorain County AFL-CIO, by the United Auto Workers Cap Council, and the Steelworkers Active Retirees. I spent 22 years as an attorney dedicated to the law and justice and to serving the community, and I respectfully ask for your vote on November 6th. Thank you.
Ohio 9th District Court of Appeals, Jennifer Hensel and Claire Dickinson.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming and for your continued attention. Thank you also, Chip, for hosting this event. My name is Jennifer Hensel. I'm running for the 9th District Court of Appeals. That court covers all of Lorain, Medina, Wayne, and Summit counties. So any cases coming up out of those courts would be heard by the 9th District. I'm a lifelong resident of the 9th District, where I have served families, individuals, and businesses as a private attorney and a public servant for about the last 19 years. In my private practice, I've advocated for clients, counseled them in the laws, in all of the trial courts, the Court of Appeals, as well as various administrative bodies. As a public servant, I've been assistant director of law and a prosecutor. In those capacities, I've been able to draft legislation and assist in enforcing that legislation to keep our community safe and prosperous. I have also been a public servant and private attorney appointed to be guardian and guardian ad litem for various individuals in the 9th District. These individuals would be children who cannot speak for themselves, elderly or disabled individuals who the court has deemed unable to either care for themselves and make their own health care decisions or care for their finances to make their own financial decisions. I come from a background of public service where both my parents were public servants. I'm asking for your vote so I can continue to serve the 9th District in this new capacity as judge of your Court of Appeals. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Judge Claire Dickinson. I'd like to thank Chip for having this, and I'd like to thank you all for sticking around to hear from us this late. I'm a member of the first generation of my family to graduate from high school. I'm the first member of my family who had the opportunity to go to college. First lawyer I ever met, I met on my first day of law school. My wife, Kathy, and I have been married for 39 years. We have 3 children, 2 of whom are lawyers. One of them's married to a lawyer. We have our first grandson. I don't know that he's going to be a lawyer. He's only 14 months old, but there's a good chance that he will be. I am very grateful for the opportunity that I have had. I had that opportunity because I was able to attend a state college, a state law school, and I did that with federally guaranteed student loans. I am grateful that I have been able to give back as a member of the 9th District Court of Appeals. I'm now in my 12th year doing that. During that time, I've participated in deciding somewhere around 4,000 cases. I've written the lead opinion in 1/3 of those cases. I currently serve on the Supreme Court's Commission on Rules of Practice. I'm the only appellate judge on that commission. I serve as the chair of the Appellate Rules Subcommittee. I have been endorsed in this race by the only newspaper so far to endorse, that's the Akron Beacon-Journal. I've also been rated highly recommended by the Akron Bar Association, the only bar association to rate the candidates in this race. I have been called upon by the Ohio Judicial College to teach many courses to judges, including being one of 3 appellate judges who routinely teaches at New Judges School. Again, I thank you for being here tonight. I hope that you will consider supporting me through November 6th. Thank you.
Now, if we can have the representatives for the for Senator Sherrod Brown and for Josh Mandel, Mr. David Turkovic, and Mr. Dan Ramos.
First of all, thank you for having me. Obviously, everyone has thanked everyone, and I'm happy that everyone stayed here to listen to our positions for United States Senate. Josh Mandel is the 40th Treasurer of Ohio, has been elected the top vote getter of all statewide elected candidates, winning 80 of 88 counties. Treasurer Mandel is a Marine Corps veteran who served 2 tours in Iraq and served state representative from the 17th District. He was first elected state representative in 2006, knocking on 19,679 doors, wearing out 3 pairs of shoes. In 2008, he was reelected for a second term, representing the district in a 2-to-1 Democrat to Republican voter ratio. Treasurer Mandel has a record of advancing the free enterprise system, advocating for limited government, and standing up to bureaucrats who treat business as if they're guilty until proven innocent. As Treasurer of Ohio, he has earned the highest possible rating from the Standard & Poor's of the $4 billion government investment fund that he manages, and the highest possible rating from Fitch from the state's short-term general obligations bond. Applying the principles of fiscal conservatism and the common sense decision-making, his liquidity profile is up to $1.4 billion at the day he took office, and has navigated the European sovereign debt crisis with the yield on behalf of taxpayers. These accomplishments came in the wake of the United States credit rating being downgraded for the first time in American history. Treasurer Mandel previously elected as Lyndhurst City Councilman, where he was elected in 2003 with more votes than any candidate for council or mayor. As Councilman, Josh introduced and led the fight for the first municipal property tax rollback in Lyndhurst history, and currently remains one of the only municipal property tax rollbacks in Ohio's history. Josh's promise to everyone in this room and to everyone in Ohio is the day that that Republican boss or that Democratic boss puts his hand on his shoulder and says, listen, son, we're going to cut you off unless you do this in the media or this or vote this way for this legislation. His promise to all of Ohio is, I will look that boss in the eye and tell them, I do not work for you. I work for the 11.5 million people of Ohio. Thank you for your time.
Representative Dan Ramos, representing Sherrod Brown.
I'm State Representative Dan Ramos from right here in Lorain County, and I have the true honor to speak on behalf of my friend, Lorain County's friend, our great United States Senator, Sherrod Brown. Now, I've known Sherrod for years, like so many of you, and I can tell you there is no greater champion for the middle class than Senator Sherrod Brown. In my office as your state representative, I know firsthand the work he has done to fight Senate Bill 5 to protect the right to organize, to protect our Great Lakes. And through working so closely together, I can tell you his work for his constituents is second to none. Now, Sherrod bet on Ohio's workers and refused to let our auto industry collapse. Sherrod understands that the auto industry is so important to our economy and, frankly, our way of life here in Northeast Ohio. And because of his efforts, Ohio still has 850,000 auto-related jobs. Sherrod also knows that to keep America working, our workers need a level playing field. That's why he's fighting to make sure that America's trade deals are fair to the American worker, and why Sherrod Brown has led the fight and continues to lead the fight against China's illegal currency manipulation and against unfair trade practices which are costing Ohioans jobs. This is why he's been described as Congress's leading proponent of American manufacturing. Sherrod Brown knows that expanding the middle class for the next generation means providing the best possible education to all students. That's why he voted for the largest increase in federal aid to students since the GI Bill. His commitment to students and young people is also evidenced by his support of the DREAM Act. Sherrod also cares about our senior citizens. Sherrod has been a fierce advocate for Ohio seniors, always standing up against attempts to weaken or end Medicare as we know it, and fighting Republican attempts to privatize Social Security. The fact is that we have a true friend and a tireless advocate in Sherrod Brown, and our community is better because of his work. Please, re-elect Lorain County's champion for the middle class, Ohio's champion for the middle class, Lorain County's own, Senator Sherrod Brown, to the United States Senate.
Thank you. This concludes our session, and our president of CHIP will come and do our closing. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Mary Santiago, Antonio Barrios, our two moderators. Please give them a round of applause. But mostly, I'd like to thank all the candidates who are here this evening. As Antonio had said earlier, CHIP is nonpartisan. We don't advocate, we don't endorse any candidates. Our mission is to educate the public, primarily Latino community, but the public at large also. We thank you for your support. As a reminder, you can see this video starting most probably next week, Wednesday or Thursday, on Channel 19 and Channel 20. The advantage is you could sit in your own living room, go through your fast forward, back, whatever you want to do. You are going to focus. If you want to hear some of the candidates, that's the advantage of the CHIP Candidates Night. Anybody who would like to join the after party at La Copa, it's on 9th and Broadway, food, refreshments. You want to sit there, rehash some of your debates, you want to give your perspective, you're more than welcome. Once again, on behalf of CHIP, I'd like to thank everybody for being here, and have a good evening.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools, TV 20 WLCS.
To purchase a high-quality copy of the program you just viewed, please call Lorain City Schools Television at 282-8400.